This has been a busy year here at Just Seven Steps. In addition to starting this podcast, I've also been creating and sharing a weekly video blog. I've recently realized that there's been a lot of really interesting topics that we've covered in the blog that weren't quite large enough to fit into a podcast episode. But they were filled with some really great tips, hints, and advice. So for this week's episode, I'm going to share with you some of my greatest hits from the video blog. Welcome to Just Seven Steps. Hi, I'm Robert Schramm, a behavior analyst, education specialist, author, and dad. And each week I share strategies to help you find the path to real progress for your kids and clients who may be struggling. Today's topic is going to center around advice and tips that I've shared as part of my Just Seven Steps video blog. So sit back and enjoy. And if you want more videos just like this one, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell to stay updated on every new release. The idea behind my video blog was to try to answer the most frequently asked questions on the internet by parents who are looking for support with their kids. The blog is on YouTube and can be accessed through my website at just7steps.com/blog. We've been at it about a half a year, and already we've posted over 20 videos, ranging in topics from why kids won't behave and push your buttons to how to be a more confident parent. One of the first blogs dealt with the topic of preventing child meltdowns. What can we do before a meltdown occurs to make it less likely? Here's some of that advice. If you're asking yourself, how can I avoid meltdowns in kids, and you are interested in the things you can control in the moments before a meltdown begins, here is that list of things you can do. First, carry with you some form of meaningful reinforcement at all times. What are some things you can have with you that your child might be interested in having and be willing to accept the answer no to if this alternative was available instead? Now, I may not like that mom is saying I can't have ice cream, but I might be less likely to tantrum or melt down if she's offering me some of my favorite snacks or a chance to play a game on her iPhone instead. Second, whenever you have to say no to something, try to always couch that no with a meaningful alternative. For example, no, you can't have ice cream right now, but if you're able to stay calm here in the store, I'll give you some goldfish crackers that I have here in my bag, and we can have some ice cream for dessert later. Third, let your child know that you understand their feelings and how hard it is to hear the answer no. Share with them that you get why they would want it, and remind them that they can trust you, that you will make sure they have access to fun stuff, including ice cream when the time is right. And finally, quickly give them access to their approved reinforcer as soon as you've given your instruction and they have not yet begun to get upset or meltdown or tantrum. Show them that if they start to get fidgety or whiny, that they might lose access to this alternative reinforcer as well. And that even though the ice cream is not going to be available, the alternative is only available if they remain positive. Now, I can't promise you this is going to stop all of your child's meltdowns. And actually, kids need to have meltdowns from time to time to learn how to show their displeasure and to develop coping skills. But it is the best chance you have at limiting them, especially in public situations where it would be harmful to you or them socially. Another topic that offered real practical advice was related to how to stop your kids from fighting with each other. This was one of the most popular of all the blogs, so let's listen in. Well, follow these tips, and I am confident you will start to see less bickering and fighting immediately. The first tip when your kids can't stop fighting is to make a blanket rule. If I hear you fighting over something, no matter what it is, you will both lose access to that item for a period of time to be determined. This rule is designed to be hard and fast, and it is designed to give your kids a strong motivation to try to work things out without turning to bickering and yelling at each other. When they know that any argument that gets to the level of your involvement will lead to a loss of the item for both kids, they will try to work together better to stop this from happening. Whether we're talking about 3-year-olds fighting over a toy or teens fighting over an article of clothing, if they fight, they both lose it. This is an important rule to maintain as a general part of your daily understanding, and you should follow through daily. Now, how long do they lose it? And might one lose it for longer than the other? Sure. If you're able to calmly discuss with them what happened and determine that one was right and one was wrong, you can have that discussion and you can return the item to the one who was right earlier if you like. But you should still maintain the policy that if you fight, you both lose. The second tip is to help your kids to cool down when they fight with a removal or activity that takes the punch out of the moment. When my girls would get into a fight about something, especially if it didn't involve something that I could just take away, as in tip number 1, I would announce that because they can't get along, they can't be in the same room with each other, and I would send them both to their rooms. The instruction is they had to stay in their rooms until they could both be in a single room together without arguing or fighting. If they come out of their rooms and the argument starts again, then back to their rooms they both go. I've even had fun at times using a peace shirt. This was something I chose to do because I knew my girls couldn't stay angry if they were being put into a ridiculous situation like wearing the same shirt. Here's a few pictures of my girls. One time when I actually used the peace shirt with them. It was about 4 years ago. This might not always be a great choice for you, but depending on their age and the level of the argument and their feelings about each other, this might be a fun way to dissipate angry feelings and turn them into silliness and laughter. Guess who's in the peace shirt? Two girls were fighting, now they're in the peace shirt.
I want to get out.
Nothing but hugsies. Nothing but hugsies in the peace shirt. No wrestling in the peace shirt. Hugsies. I can't tell you the number of times I asked my girls if I needed to bring out the peace shirt for them to both immediately say, "No, Dad, we got this." The final tip is for families who really are dealing with a large amount of fighting and children who just do not seem to get along at all. For these families, I've recommended developing a quick token plan that offers a strong, meaningful reinforcer that they can earn after enough days go by without fighting. Perhaps it is a chance to go to a special restaurant or to a family movie night. Perhaps it involves permission to sleep over at a friend's house or to have a sleepover. Perhaps it involves getting something from a store or a chance to just go pick up a treat. But whatever you pick, it should be something that your kids both say that they would be willing to work for and that it would be worth it to avoid fighting with each other during the day. Now, depending on how often your kids are fighting, you will need to set up a way for them to earn this item or items if they each want different things. If they're fighting multiple times a day, maybe you have to check in 3 or 4 times a day with a chance to earn a token each time if that section of the day went by without any fights. Maybe you check in once after lunch and once again before bed for an opportunity for 2 tokens a day. If expecting no fights is too much to ask for now, start by offering a token for 2 or less arguments during the day and a second token for no fights at all, so that even if they do slip up, there's still something that they can earn. And finally, determine how many tokens they would need to get their prize and only give them their prize when they've had enough days or parts of days without fighting. Then adjust and repeat as they become better and better about controlling their fighting behavior. As always, these are just a few basic tips for specific issues that I'm asked a lot about. And if your children can't stop fighting, then these tips will likely help you. Another question that is often asked online is how parents are able to stay calm in stressful situations. Here are some hints and tips from that video blog as well. One of the most important things you can do to become better about handling stress is to prepare for any safety issues and practice a code word with your child that informs them of danger. If you're going to go biking, take the time and effort to make sure your kids have all the safety equipment on that will help to keep them safe from falling or mishap. Before you go into a busy place, set aside a very obvious and clear location that can be seen from anywhere to meet up with if they should get lost. Teach them your phone number or sew it into their jacket or into their shoes. Give your child a safety word, some special word that your child knows is important. It could be freeze, danger, or safety. Practice teaching them to stop immediately and to look to you for instructions whenever they hear you say it. You should only use this word in moments of danger and not just to get their attention when they're out playing. You can also have a password that you use that your kids know they should ask any adult who communicates with them on your behalf. This way, if the adult doesn't know the password, your child should know not to trust them. Another thing that answers the question, how to stay calm in stressful situations, is to have a parenting plan. Knowing what your goals are and how you're planning to meet those goals gives you a way to stay calm when things start to get out of control. A tantruming child can be a stressful situation for any parent, but if you know your goals and how you're going to achieve those goals with how you are reacting to those tantrums, then you can stay calm and in control. Because whether your child is choosing to continue to tantrum or not, they're still learning and they're heading toward their goal. When they stop or avoid a tantrum, your plan will lead them toward better outcomes, making them more likely to do this in the future. But if they are tantruming, then your plan will show them that this doesn't lead to better outcomes, making them less likely to tantrum again in the future. Either way, you get to remain calm, knowing that you are making progress on your goals. And finally, just reminding yourself that this is only temporary in the moment can be helpful to hold in anger and stress reactions. Because if you're planning for safety concerns and you have a parenting plan that is designed to move your kids forward that you're following, it will be temporary. And that alone makes it easier to stay calm in stressful situations. So next up, I answer the online comment, "My kids won't behave." What advice do you have for such a general issue? Well, this is how I handled it in my video blog. So how do we get a child to start to behave? Again, I go back to the reasons. If your child is actively avoiding an instruction, it means they have no reason to engage with it the way that you want. This then becomes your task. How do you make sure they always have reasons to cooperate with your important instructions when you give them? So here are my 4 most important tips for anyone thinking, my kid won't behave. First, become someone worth listening to and working for. Be the kind of influence in your child's life that makes them happy to want to be around you, and in turn, then want to please you to have even more of this time together. If your main form of interaction with your child is to bark orders at them, they will see you as an aversive, someone to be avoided, and you are not likely to build up much goodwill toward your goals. On the other hand, if you focus on making sure you're at least 75% fun and positive and never more than 25% work, your child will see you as a positive in their lives and someone they will want to cooperate with. So work hard to focus on more than just the negatives of your child's behavior. Find ways to bring fun and joy into their lives as much as possible so that you can build up the goodwill and overall relationship necessary to get your important needs met when you do give them instructions that you need them to follow. The second tip to be able to stop saying, my kid won't behave, is to give instructions the right way at the right time. Try not to give your instructions at times your child is not likely to want to engage with you. If they're in the middle of a game or focused on an important activity, this is not the best time to walk in and start asking for things. The chances of them stopping and listening and cooperating at this time are currently smaller than they would be if they aren't engaged in something important. I mean, you know what it's like when you're engrossed in a TV show or writing an email and someone walks up to you and tries to talk to you about something important to them, but not you. The best way to get your kids to start behaving is to practice giving your instructions at times that they're actually most likely to attend and cooperate. Wait for when they're not engaged in something important, or at very least, stop that thing that they're doing first. Get their full attention and then give the instruction in a way that they know you will follow through with consequences depending upon how they respond. The third tip to be able to stop saying my kid won't behave is to give good reasons for cooperation. When your child has done things for you and cooperated with your instructions, have you made sure that it was an experience that they would want to repeat? Do you find ways to reward them, or better yet, reinforce that behavior by giving it good reasons to happen again? The best way to reinforce good behavior is to find a way to offer some benefit to your child after they cooperate with you. Rather than just insisting on cooperation and only getting angry when it doesn't happen, do you have the ability to remember to make their lives better, even in small ways, after they have cooperated with you? This is likely the most important aspect involved in getting continued cooperation over time. So don't let this tip slide. Whenever your child has made a good choice, go out of your way to show them why they would want to make that choice again in the future. And my fourth tip to be able to stop saying my child won't behave is to stop offering value and reinforcement after your child has refused to cooperate with you or ignored an instruction. Assuming you followed the earlier tips and gave your instruction the right way at the right time, if your child still chooses to avoid your request, stop reinforcing refusals with tons of attention, either positive or negative attention. Don't get angry, but then also make the mistake of letting them continue to have the same positive outcomes that would have been available if they had made a better choice. For a child to start behaving better, they're going to have to need reasons. And those reasons are consistent experience with a more positive outcome when they cooperate than when they don't. This will only happen if you make sure it happens with both tips 3, reinforcing good behavior, and tip 4, not allowing too much reinforcement to follow refusals or ignoring of your instructions. If I'm playing a game and you give me an instruction and I know that following it will get me more game time and not following it will get me less game time, I'm much more likely to choose to behave in that setting, and your kids will be too. So if your goal is to give your child good reasons to behave positively, these 4 tips are a great place to start. Next up, we try to answer the question, why do kids always push your buttons? I hope you enjoy this clip as well. So I'm going to answer the question, why kids always push your buttons? And then I'm going to get into what it is you can do to change this. The reason why kids always push your buttons is simple. It's because it works. That's it. They push your most sensitive areas because it works in helping them get what they want. Maybe they're not getting the attention from you that they want. Well, if they can find that thing that you don't like, such as jumping on the bed, and they do it, well, they know you'll not be able to avoid giving them your attention. Maybe you don't want to give them something that they want, but they know you can't stand to see them cry. So crying becomes a more valuable behavior. And kids become more and more likely to cry in these situations. If your child can cry all they want, or jump on the bed, or even talk back to you, and you don't respond, but you live in an apartment building, and the one thing you can't handle is when they get too loud for the neighbors, then whenever your child is not happy with their situation and they're looking for a way to get you to respond or change your tune, the best thing they can do is to get loud enough to disturb the neighbors, forcing you to react. I worked with one little boy who was diagnosed with autism spectrum disorders, who would grab his mom's bosom whenever she was out in public talking with people, and he wanted to go home. It was a button he discovered that almost every time caused her to end the conversation and attend to him giving him what he wanted. So if the answer to the question, why kids always push your buttons, is because it works, well, then what is the remedy? Well, the remedy involves no longer allowing it to work. I know that sounds like it's a lot harder to do than it is to say, and you may be right, but it is the actual path to progress you need. As long as you have a button or soft spot that your child knows exists and that you will react to, they will have every reason to push that button whenever they're not getting their way, and they want to bring you to their level of dissatisfaction. The only way to not get your buttons pushed is to disconnect the wiring and not let that button connect to your reactions anymore. For example, if the kids are jumping on the bed because that is the thing you always respond to, you have to do 3 things. You have to find ways to reinforce behavior that they choose instead of jumping on the bed. You have to not allow jumping on the bed to get you to react emotionally or with any unnecessary attention. And possibly you'll need to add a simple consequence that involves little hassle or effort on your part in implementing that your child will find unsupportive of their goals. In other words, something that they would rather avoid. Maybe the removal of a toy or opportunity for a short period of time. And if your child is trying to get you to give in by crying, you have to be able and willing to reinforce your child with more and better opportunity whenever they are able to overcome their desire to cry in these situations. where they are not truly hurt or sad, but instead just not getting what they want. Then again, you have to not give in and give them what they want, even though they are crying, and avoid giving them too much of a reason to think that it's affecting you emotionally. Finally, if you feel it's appropriate or necessary, you can also add an additional consequence as above. If you analyze the advice for these two specific situations, you will see the answer comes in three parts. First, preemptive reinforcement for making good choices or avoiding the behavior that normally the child pushes your buttons with. Second, ignoring the button pushing and not allowing it to affect you emotionally or with additional attention. And finally, if appropriate or necessary, adding a consequence of some sort of reduction of availability of reinforcement as a response to the behavior, making it less likely to continue. Okay, so for our final video blog clip of the day, I'm going to share with you my response to the question about how to be a more confident parent. So if you haven't already subscribed to my YouTube channel, take a second, do it right now. You'll be glad that you did. Nobody with a healthy mindset can possibly get into parenting for the first time without bouts of anxiety, fear, and hesitation. Becoming a more confident parent is something that generally takes some time, but there are certainly things that you can do to help that process along. Confidence comes from experience and success. The more successful you become at something, the more confidence you develop in your ability to do that thing. And the same is going to be true for you as a parent. The problem is nobody ever parents or cares for their first child with any experience. It's all about theory, hopes, ideals, and hopefully having been able to participate in a healthy, successful parent-child relationship as a child with your own parents. Unfortunately, not everyone has that. And even those of us who were raised well by caring and attentive parents, we don't always know what our specific kids might need. We only know what's worked for us and what didn't. This is a great jumping off point, but not the guarantee of success that any new parent longs for. So what is it that you can do to help build your confidence in your own abilities as a parent? Is it fake it till you make it? Well, that can help to some degree. Is it go to family and friends for help? Again, this can be helpful, but there's no guarantee that the people you go to have any better idea of how to help your child than you do. So what is it? How do you become a more confident parent? For me, the answer to this question is to stop winging it. Stop guessing your way through every new situation and problem. Stop wondering how to react to your children's behavior in the moment, and instead come up with a parenting plan, a plan that is evidence-based and rooted in proven methodologies. One that takes advantage of the knowledge of the basic behavioral principles that are controlling your child's behavior every single day. If you want to become a more confident parent, you have to experience success as a parent. To do that, you may need some guidance and help. Parenting advice is easy to find. Just about anyone who has ever had a child will likely be able to offer you something. The question is, what is the value of the advice of a random parent of a child who may or may not have been anything like your own? There are so many parenting experts out there with all kinds of advice for new or struggling parents. But when these experts are researched, it is not uncommon to find that their only education or points of reference might be from raising their own brood of children. Successfully parenting the child in front of you is going to take more than just a handful of tips and tricks from other parents, even parents who call themselves experts. What you are going to need is an approach that makes sense behaviorally, is comprehensive, and has a proven track record. It has to be flexible enough to take into account all the ways an individual child might be different or have special needs. It has to be based on a set of principles. And that is why I teach this Just 7 Steps approach to instructional motivation. The Just 7 Steps approach will help you become a more confident parent because it will help you come in contact with parenting success. It will set you up with a plan that makes sense to you and offers a behavioral mechanism that supports its use. It will be flexible enough to work for any child or different children in your household, and it will be designed to not only gain better cooperation, but to build a more positive relationship. There is confidence in knowing what you are trying to achieve with every interaction you have with your child. There is confidence in being able to give instructions the right way at the right time and under the right motivation. There is confidence in knowing that if you positively reinforce the behavior you want to see more of, you will begin to see it more often, and you will be increasing your child's opinion of you as well. There is confidence in knowing how to grow your parenting plan over time and how to prioritize your needs as well as your child's interests. And there's confidence in seeing yourself become more and more successful and happy with your child and relationship each and every single day. Children are all different and can have vastly different motivations. Assuming the same things that would motivate you will motivate your child is a quick path to turmoil. Looking at how your child responds to your consequences in the moment instead of how they affect future behavior is another quick turn to trouble. Relying on negative reinforcement instead of positive, or using positive punishment procedures as a regular tool will only hurt the relationship you're trying to build, even if it gets you the cooperation that you want in the moment. There are so many things that could affect your child's responses to you and then ultimately dictate how you should respond to them. It's no wonder so many parents go through their lives without feeling a strong sense of confidence in their abilities. If your goal is to build more confidence in yourself as a parent, then you're going to need to find ways to start coming into contact with higher levels of success. And the best way to do that is to have a plan of action that guides your decision-making so that you don't have to panic in the moment trying to figure out what to do. The Just 7 Steps approach offers you all the information you need to create your own parenting plan. It is the path to progress and confidence that you have been looking for. The best place to start the process of learning about the Just 7 Steps approach is to go to the website just7steps.com and hit /quiz and take the behavior types quiz to get an idea of what your child's overriding behavior type might be. There's a ton of really valuable information out there for parents if they just know where to look. And confidence comes from success, and success comes from developing a working plan. Give yourself the opportunity to learn how to create a positive parenting plan, and you will find that confidence you've been missing. Well, there you have it. 6 clips from my Just 7 Steps video blog compiled into one episode of the podcast that is chock full of good advice and helpful ideas. Next week, I have a special guest, and we'll be discussing the ways you can prepare your kids for a positive holiday experience. I promise this is one episode that you won't want to miss.